Everyone, this is Kelsey Martin. I'm going to be giving you a tour of Edmodo today as my learning platform. Edmodo is a platform that I'm pretty familiar with. I used it for several years before my school district switched over to Google Classroom. It definitely has its pros and cons, and I would love to cover those with you today. I'm going to go ahead and start out with creating a profile. This is relatively simple, and I just wanted to walk through the steps with you in case you decided to test out this platform. Now, I did try to hack into my old classrooms just for fun, but it wouldn't let me, so we're going to do this from scratch. You'll notice that you can sign up as a teacher, a student, or a parent, so it's super easy. We're going to do the teacher. And I'm going to go ahead and sign up with Google. Now, of course, if you were using this platform for teaching, you would want to use your professional email, but today we're just trying it out. So I'm going to go ahead and use my school email. And as you can see, when it loads, I created a teacher profile. It's going to say Kelsey Martin and teacher up here. I want to go ahead and cover the cost with you before we get into the features. Edmodo is completely free, which is really, really awesome, but so is Google Classroom and a lot of other learning platforms. So that's not really rare. I know that school districts do kind of strike up deals with the companies for special features and stuff like that. But for a teacher just kind of chilling on their own, if you want to use Edmodo, it's completely free for you. So that's really cool. And it's also free for your students and parents, of course. So that's the cost. Now let's go over some general information. Edmodo was created for teachers to use in their classrooms with their students. Now, some school districts have kind of changed that to where they use it as a professional development platform. You'll see later when you create classes that it would be really easy to create a class for other teachers to be a part of. It's kind of like creating a group. You will see that you can use it for testing announcements. I know my testing coordinator at the high school I was at would send out testing announcements to students via Edmodo. So they kind of have diversified what it was originally intended for. I think honestly, that's what made it less effective in time and caused people to want to change over to Google Classrooms because Edmodo just got way too crowded. But let's go ahead and stay positive and talk about its features because I do think that there's going to be some of you who will like it just in its purest form. So again, you'll see that this is Kelsey Martin. I am a teacher, and I'm going to show you how to create a classroom so that we can dive into some of its awesome functions. Edmodo is extremely easy to use. The learning curve for a first-time user is incredibly small. I remember when I showed my students how to use it the first week of school every year, it took them about 20 minutes to be able to do it correctly on their own without me helping them. So don't be afraid. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create a class. The first thing you do is you click on Create a Class and you name your class. So we'll go ahead and name this class Online Teaching. You can select your grade, so I'll select higher education, and subject area, we'll do creative arts. And then we'll just click all. So the great thing about this is you can change the color, and when I had 8 groups going at once, this was really helpful. So I'm going to make it yellow because it's a happy color. And there it is, right there. If I want to invite people to join this class, I can show this code to them on my board, or I can send it to them via email. They can do it on their phone, or I can download the handout to upload to some sort of classroom space that maybe I'm using, like Remind. It's a one-way texting app that I always use with my students. I could text them this PDF and say, join this. With this code, and they are really familiar with codes like this. This looks just like a promo code for getting $5 off Uber Eats, and trust me, they'll know how to use it. So you just send them this code and they can join the class, and then you're done. So once you're inside of a class, you can create assignments, you can give them quizzes, ask them a question via a poll. I remember, let's go ahead and look at poll. I remember we were doing a t-shirt design, and I typed in, which of these designs do you like best? I did type and talk at the same time. And I put 2 pictures here and they voted, and that's how we chose our classroom t-shirt. So simple things like that. Or you can say, would you prefer to have your test next week, or would you prefer to have it this week? if you're ready. And you can kind of get a feel for how your students are feeling about something. So that's really great. So let's create a quiz now. So to create a quiz, you just click on that button and you can name it whatever you want. So online teaching quiz. First question, you can do all sorts of questions. I personally always did multiple choice questions. One of the cons about giving quizzes on Edmodo is that it's really time consuming to grade short answer questions or fill in the blank questions because you have to go through every single question on every single student's quiz in order to do that. It's a lot of clicking, so I really do not recommend it. So the best thing to do is to do either multiple choice or true or false questions. Yes, these are more time consuming to write, but I feel like you save the time in grading that you use in writing the test. So let's do multiple choice. And you add your first question. So you go ahead and just write your question here and write out your answers. I would always do like 3 or 4 answer choices, and the correct one you see is green right here. So right here, you can choose to show your students the results, to randomize the questions, and publish to your profile. So that means you're ready to give it. I never showed them results, and I always randomized the question so that my whole class would be doing a different question at once, and they wouldn't know how they did until I released the grades to them later. So that's my recommendation to you. And one thing that's really great is that once they are done with the quiz, if it is a multiple choice or true or false quiz, they automatically grade it for you. Edmodo does. And it posts into a virtual grade book. So you can just go in there, you can have 2 windows open and enter your grades into your, school, whatever designated system they have for grading right from Edmodo. So it's awesome. You don't have to do any grading. You just go down the list and enter in the numbers into your grade book, and that's really nice. So it's useful to do your quizzes that way instead of spending all this time grading something that you could have just had them do on another platform. And then you click done when you're done. It has errors. We're just going to exit out of it because we know that. If you want to create another class, again, you just create a class. We're not going to do that, though. Oh, well, I guess I have to get out of here. Okay, here we go. So another feature, I'm going to go back to my online teaching class, is you can create assignments. So I can do any sort of assignment that I want to and add it to the gradebook and lock it after the due date so they can't do late submissions. I always did this. My students, as amazing as they were, they would try to be slick and turn something late, and that is the worst. So you just create the assignment title and then select a due date and a time. I would always make mine due at midnight. And then you can add files to it. So maybe a PDF of the instructions. You can give them a link to a video you want them to watch. Add something from your library that you already have saved. The library's up here. Or something from your Google Drive. And another feature that I really, really loved was the send later feature. If you don't want to post this assignment yet, you can just select a date and it'll post it for you. That's so great for days that you have a little bit more time and you want to work ahead. You can pre-plan assignments and they release to your students later on. I always really loved that because I like to be efficient with my time, and that enabled me to do so. So there's creating an assignment. Let's see what else. Oh, managing classes. If you ever want to delete a class, it is so easy. You just remove it from favorites and go back to your profile, and you'll see that it is gone. You see? So let's go to setting up our profile. It says, tell us about yourself. So I can upload a photo of myself if I wanted. I can say what subject area I teach. So I can change this to language arts. I can add my grades. I can do a grade range. That's really nice because I always taught like 5 things at once. Done editing, and it will change it for me. You don't have to have your name as Kelsey Martin. I definitely wouldn't. So you can change that. You can also add your school, Really nice. And you can invite other teachers. I really wish I had been able to hack into my old account because you would have seen just a massive area right here of connections. If you go to Facebook, I'll actually go to my Facebook profile. You'll see that it is just like Facebook in that your connections, let's go. Your connections are right here. Your friends, it's the same. It looks just the same right here. So that's really interesting, huh? All right, you can add information about yourself, your professional experience, your schedule information, when you can have tutoring, maybe a link to your personal website, and it gives you badges for teacher achievements. So having a certain amount of students, using digital content really well, using polls. So essentially the more tools you use on Edmodo, the more badges you have. And that's cool because when parents come to your profile, they can see, wow, this teacher has a lot of connections. I can tell when my student can go in for tutoring. I know her schedule if I ever want to contact her, and I can see her personal website and that she really knows how to use digital media to help her students with their content. So that's really great. Students can also send you messages on here, which is nice, just like email. So I didn't really use it that much. And then progress is where the grades are. I don't have any students right now, so there are no grades, but it looks just like a normal grade book when you do have grades. You can export them into a Excel sheet, which is really nice. And what's due is a calendar. It's just like in Canvas, when you have your monthly view, it looks just like that when you actually have assignments. Home. So now we're back home. This is my homepage. It's just like a Facebook feed. So if I go to my Facebook feed right now, it looks like this, a bunch of different stuff. That is what my feed would look like if I had other teacher connections. But since I've just created my profile, I don't have anything. When your teacher connection friends post something new, that shows up on the feed. This is really great for professional development or sharing tools with one another because you don't clog up your email. You can just say, hey, I posted it on the Edmodo, and it's really effective to share stuff. Again, so you don't clog up your email. If you have taught in a brick and mortar school, you really understand that people email all the time. So it's just really helpful to be able to holler across the hall and tell them to do that instead of sending an actual email. All right, just for some final things that I want to cover with you. Edmodo is extremely easy for students to use. It is very intuitively designed. You know exactly where to click because, again, they're familiar with Facebook. And it's really easy for teachers to learn how to use. If I want to create a class, I just click create a class. If I want to manage them, I click manage classes. All of the labels on the buttons are extremely easy to recognize what that button is going to cause to happen. Sometimes when you're on other websites, it's just a symbol. And I really like how Edmodo has made their buttons kind of like phrases. Instead of a symbol. These up here even have words below them. Imagine if it was just this little squiggly or just this little item. I would have no idea that that's what library was. So that's a really good pro for this website. Some cons for this website I kind of discussed earlier is that there are a lot of people who use Edmodo for something that it was not intended for originally. It was intended to be just teachers and students communicating classroom information and content and sharing it with one another. A lot of schools use it for professional development and for announcements and things like that. And it's just created such a crowded space. Honestly, it's just like Facebook. People used to just share social things or kind of look at pictures or use the chat function. I remember when it first came out, and now it's just so saturated with ads and videos and clickbait that you just cannot figure out what information you actually want to access. So that's kind of a funny, ironic thing that it was designed to look like Facebook and it ended up being crowded and, not as, user-friendly as it was intended to be, just like Facebook did. So that's kind of the controversy that has surrounded both of those websites, which is just another really interesting factoid. I think we pretty much covered all of the features that you would want to use in your classroom initially. There are some videos on YouTube. You can just Google Edmodo tips from teachers and a bunch of stuff pops up if you were interested in learning some more about the features. But that pretty much is all the features that you will use on a day-to-day basis. And I hope that this helped you out. Bye.